Welcome to the Inside Syracuse Basketball Podcast. I'm Mike Waters. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Joe Girard. I talked with Joe about this past season, how he handles haters, and potentially switching positions next season. Well, welcome back to another edition of the Inside Syracuse Basketball Podcast. And we've got a really great guest for us this time around. It's Syracuse University guard Joe Girard. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Well, it's good to get a chance to talk to you because we really haven't had an opportunity since the season came to an end in Brooklyn with that loss to Duke. What have you been doing with your time over the last, I guess it's been almost 3 weeks now?
Yeah, just pretty much just relaxing, chilling, trying to, let the body rest and heal. Other than that, last week and this week, just starting to get back into workouts and stuff, just with Jerry and myself. And then obviously with Coach Kabilis in the weight room. So we're starting to get back into that flow. Going to school, obviously. I'm trying to finish up the semester and the year. And but most importantly, just getting some rest.
You must have said the word rest 2 or 3 times in there. I mean, how much did your body break down, or not break down because you weren't injured, or I don't think, or anything, but just, describe needing that kind of rest at the end of a year?
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through it. I mean, whether you like us, unfortunately, didn't make the postseason, or you're, Carolina and Kansas, who just played the last game of the year, 2 days ago. Everybody needs it. It's just something that comes with part of the game. And over the course of a Division I schedule, your body gets, beat up and torn up. You're practicing every day, you're working out every day, lifting every day, going to games, all that kind of stuff, traveling. So it's just a lot, but that's what you sign up for, and that's the fun of it.
In the times that you've had since the season ended, have you had a chance to think back on your season and how it went for the team? And, how do you look back on it now with a couple weeks perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to think about, obviously. You never, want to have the record we had at the end of the year. It's not something that you go into the season thinking, oh, this is what we want to do and have it happen. So, I mean, obviously the record was unfortunate. I think just the one thing, though, that, me and the rest of the guys and everybody around the program have kind of said, though, that stayed consistent was that we never gave up. No matter how down bad we were, how bad the record was, or who we were playing, it seemed like we were always going into the game with a dogfight kind of mentality, and that we were going to bring it our all. And, I've said it and everybody said it, like, it might sound crazy, but we were actually like a really good team. And, it's just like every single game that we played, we felt like we had a chance to win. Obviously, maybe the 2 regular season Duke games, and then maybe Auburn was the only 3 that, you can probably think of where we were kind of out of it right from the get-go. Right. But other than that, it was like every single game we were in, and it was just 2, 3, even maybe 1 possession, that we didn't execute as well as we needed to win the game. So, like I said, it's crazy to, think about and call us a great team. But honestly, I truly believe it. It just was unfortunate with, how some of the ending of the games went.
Yeah, you did have a few that heartbreaking losses that, if you turn those into wins, you got a winning record, and a few more games go your way. You're 22-11 all of a sudden. Exactly. But, to your point there, where you talk about the team never really gave up and you always competed. You lost your last 4 regular season games. So you go into the ACC tournament on a 4-game losing streak. Now, those 4 losses were to Notre Dame, Duke, Carolina, and Miami, and they all play in the NCAA tournament, and they all play well. Right. But you roll into Brooklyn with that 4-game losing streak, and I've seen teams go into either Big East or ACC tournaments with that kind of downturn, and they barely show up. Right. You guys show up, you destroy Florida State, and then without Buddy the next day, you gave Duke a real battle all the way to the end. You nearly had them. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. I never saw this team lose fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those 4 games at the end of the regular season, I think other than, like I said, the Duke game, probably at that time was winnable games for us. And it just seemed like, ball didn't bounce our way here or there. But we were, like I said, always, like you said, we were just fighting to the end. And we carried that mentality over into Brooklyn. And I think that's kind of like, the first game against Florida State was kind of the way that we felt we could have played all year. And like they were on the high of a high going in. I'm pretty sure they were on like a 4-game win streak before, ACC tournament. And like you said, we were on a 4-game losing streak, but it just goes to show you how well and like how talented and skilled our team actually could have been if we just clicked on all cylinders like we did that game. Obviously, the whole year, it didn't happen that way.
I was wondering, and I've had both Buddy and Jimmy on my 2 previous podcasts, but from your perspective, how much stress was on those 2 guys this year, and how much did this losing season weigh on them? Because they're playing for their dad, and their dad has never had a losing season before in his career.
Yeah, you feel bad for them because they obviously have the same last name as Coach, and they have to play with a little bit more, I guess, on their shoulders in a way because of who their dad is. And it's unfortunate that people put that kind of stigma on people. But that's, I guess, just how it is. But I think the 2 of them handled it better than anybody could have. You never really, like I said, saw them get down. They were always fighting until the end. They would come into practice and work out every day with the same attitude as if we just won a game by 30. So I mean, yeah, there was a lot more on their shoulders, I guess, than on ours. But at the same time, we all bought in and we all gave the same amount of effort. And they didn't really think too much about it, and they just played basketball like they know how to do.
Looking at this season a little bit more positively, you were back in front of fans. The year before, which was a better for you guys record-wise, you made the NCAAs the year before, but you played that year with no fans around, and even the NCAA tournament was in a bubble. How much of a difference, or how great was it for you guys just to have fans there again?
We loved it. I mean, it's an opportunity for not only fans, but your family members to come watch you play again. Instead of having them and making them watch it on TV, or you're going into an empty arena like the Carrier Dome that can seat 30,000 people and you're 0. So it was awesome for us. It was good to get back to some normalcy, I think, and just another sense of energy, especially in those close games, which you need. I mean, people think that home court advantage is like a cliche, but it's actually true. When you have the crowd behind you and the kind of momentum's riding, and they're all behind you, it calls the other team to calls timeouts and stuff like that. So I mean, fans bring a whole different environment to the game, and we appreciate everything they did for us. And truthfully, they kept showing up, they kept sticking with us throughout the whole year, and came to every game and supported us like they would had we had a 0-loss record. So we appreciated them, and it was definitely good to get back to some, like I said, normalcy with that.
All right. So on the subject of fans, I just returned from the Final Four in New Orleans the other day, and on my way back, I connect in Charlotte, North Carolina, and who do I run into but Scoop Jardine?
No way.
I know, it was just blind luck. You run into Scoop at the Charlotte International Airport, and my computer wants to do some funky stuff all of a sudden. There we go. But there's Scoop, and as I'm talking with Scoop, I'm thinking of you as well. Because I think you 2 guys, above anybody else I've ever covered here, have a group of this fan base, and I think it's a large segment of the Syracuse fan base that love you 2. They love Scoop. You've got a huge following. But I think there's a vocal minority who ragged on Scoop. They dumped on Scoop. It was like bad Scoop, good Scoop. And I know you get that.
For sure.
I see it. I hope you don't go to message boards, but every once in a while, every once in a while, I'll go over there. What's it like? You do have a very passionate, supportive group of fans. And then I know you're aware of the ones that, okay. What's that like?
Honestly, it doesn't faze me as much as maybe I used to. I've kind of had to deal with that even since I was in high school, just because of how, many eyes, I guess, were on me at the time. So I kind of had a good practice with it. Obviously, here at Syracuse, you're on way more of a national stage and way bigger of a fan base. So yeah, it could probably weigh on you a little bit. And especially today in, social media world, where it's present every day if you're on your phone. But I mean, like you kind of said, you just have to understand that there's a larger number of positives than there is the minute negatives. So you kind of just got to deal with it. It's part of the gig, and I think it's almost like they're a Twitter coach. So you can't, like, obviously I'm playing for Coach Boeheim. You can't really listen to the Twitter coaches, as I like to call them, who probably have never played basketball in their life and just like to tweet some nonsense just to get some people fired up.
Do you have to remind yourself that it's probably a very small number, but because they can be amplified in social media?
Yeah, you do. You have to remind yourself that all the time. And, you can even go through maybe sometimes your direct messages on social media and, you'll find one or two here or there, if people wanted to kill you because you lost their prop bet or something. And, but then you go through the rest of them, it's all positive things. So, obviously after a bad game, it's a lot worse. But that happens, and you can't be perfect every single day. But it's just part of the gig, like I said, and it's something that I've come to conclusion with that I can't really change. And I think it's just not that it's a stigma because of how I played probably my sophomore year, but it's just something that people have in the back of their minds that they just want to, I guess, keep bringing it up.
Have you ever talked to Scoop or any other former players who've been through this?
No, I've never talked to Scoop.
You want his number?
Yeah, I do. No, I never talked to him. I used to watch him growing up. I was a big fan of his. But I think, he's from obviously my backyard. Jimmer probably was the best one to help me out with it because, he was, Jimmer mania. That was the high of the high. Nobody was probably in the world as famous as him at one point. But then he,
right.
Unfortunately, when the NBA and all that stuff didn't work out, obviously a lot of people turned on him. And, it became like a negative thing to him. So I think I kind of said it last year. He kind of helped me out towards the end of February and March, of my sophomore year. And that's kind of when I turned it around and started, playing positive again and all that kind of stuff. So he's probably the one that I've kind of, took a lot from in that sense. Obviously, with GMAC, he's the one that's been by my side my whole, 3 years here, and he's helped me out a lot with it as well. But even he says back when he played, there wasn't really much social media, so there wasn't much, for him to really, have to deal with it. But he's just helped me out and helped me get through it, all that kind of stuff, and understands that, it's, you listen to people like him, and you listen to people like Coach Boeheim. You don't listen to, like I said, the Twitter coaches. But I think him and Jim are for sure the ones that help me out most with that kind of stuff.
It was really kind of amazing with, I know you and Jimmer come from the same town, and, you watched him growing up, but yeah, that's pretty special for a guy like Jimmer to continue to help you out and be a sounding board or advisor.
Yeah, he's done great. And I think he's the people, people have said it his whole career that he's, probably a better person even than a basketball player. And that's pretty crazy to say. But it's true. He's always been that way. He's always been more of an even keeled kind of guy. I remember when I was, 5-6 years old watching him play. He just always had the straight face on, no matter how good he was doing or how bad he was doing. He was always just one of those guys that stayed even keeled. And I think that, obviously, with the way today's game's going, I'm more of an emotional player, but that's something I've tried to look at of his, and I think I've gotten better at it. But he's helped me work out, in the summer whenever he's home back in Glens Falls and we're there together. I've worked out with him a few times, and he's taught me some things on the basketball court, and then like I said, he's continued to help me off the basketball court as well. And even his family, his brother TJ is a big supporter and a great guy, and his dad Al is a great guy as well, who I see every time I'm back in Glens Falls. It seems like I'm seeing Al for that or TJ for that somewhere.
That's pretty cool. For the haters out there are some numbers of yours that are amazing that could shut them up in a heartbeat. And I don't know if a lot of fans are really truly aware of what you've done in your 3 years here. Do you mind if I mention a few?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure. Yep.
209 made 3-pointers in your 3 years. Any idea where that ranks in Syracuse history?
It's nowhere close to GMAC, who's won, so I'm not sure.
No, not close to GMAC. You're right about that. Buddy has like 309, and he's not close to GMAC.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
You're 6th all time.
Oh, wow.
You moved ahead of Demetrius Nichols and Eric Devendorf in the last week of the season.
Oh, geez, I didn't know that.
2 guys right? Eric and Demetrius?
Yep.
How many career points do you think you have?
Probably around, I think I'm my 1,000th this year, so I'd probably say around 1,100 maybe.
Wow, pretty good. 1,126.
Oh, okay.
You just moved ahead of Andy Routens.
Oh, wow, no way.
Yeah. that's some pretty good company there.
Yeah, those are some legends that even I remember watching and hearing about.
Now, so now we look ahead to next year, a senior year, and it could be a lot different for you.
Right.
Looking ahead already, and I know it's probably too soon to ask you to do this. It's not fair, but I'm going to do it anyway. Looking ahead to next year, what are your personal goals, or if there's not like a real goal, what do you want from yourself in your senior year?
I guess obviously just to keep improving. I mean, obviously that sounds boring, but it's true. Every time any college basketball player wants to get better the next year than they were the previous year. So obviously just trying to and up my numbers, all of them, whether it's making less turnovers, getting more assists, obviously with Buddy leaving, Cole leaving, Jimmy leaving, all those guys who scored a lot of points, we're gonna have to pick it up somewhere else, whether it's Jesse obviously coming back, the new guys coming in, Samir playing a bigger role, Benny playing a bigger role. So obviously those points from those guys are gonna have to come somewhere else. So obviously trying to up that, but I think it's just getting better in general and trying to be more of a leader. Like I said, we got a lot of new guys coming in, and this is my 4th year. It's gonna be my 4th year here. I'm not the new guy on the block anymore. I'm the vet, so I got to help these guys out and trying to be a leader for them. I think I did a lot better of a job of that this year too as well, and just keep getting better in that sense.
You mentioned next year you're going to be the vet. You're a senior. It's amazing how fast in college you go from young to old.
Yeah, this is gone way faster than my high school experience. This is I don't know if it's because of the COVID stuff, but this college experience has flown by, and I'm trying to love every second of it. But it's hard, obviously, when you're pretty much here as a job, and every day is something new, and every day is the same long day, but it's something new with it. So I'm trying to absorb everything and try and just appreciate it as much as I can.
In that Duke game down in Brooklyn with Buddy out, you moved over to the 2. Samir had to play the point. He has 11 assists. You have 23 points. Was that a glimpse into what next season could be? Are you moving off the ball? Are you going to the 2 guard spot?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely like a little preview, hopefully, of what we can do. Obviously, like I said, we're going to have a lot of new pieces around us. We didn't have Jesse, unfortunately, that game either. So, he's a big help that we're going to have this year with him continuing to improve, and then the new guys. So, I'll probably be playing a little bit more off the ball than I have, my past 3 years. And, obviously when you have a, preseason All-American and a first teamer and the guy who led the ACC in scoring at that 2 spot, it's pretty hard to put anybody else in those minutes. So obviously, even though people like to rat on him, Coach Boeheim knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And, he's obviously a legend for a reason. So, we had another guy in that spot before, but obviously next year those minutes are going to have to come from somebody else. And it allows me to go do that and trying to focus on scoring more than making plays. But I think, in that kind of role, for someone like me who's always been kind of a combo guard who can play both spots, when I'm looking for my shot and then, it attracts the defense, it obviously opens up for other people. So even though I'm looking for my shot more, maybe it still allows me to make plays and get guys the ball where they need it. For instance, if, driving into the lane next year and you guys, if there's a big guy coming up, you're going to dump it down to Jesse, who's, obviously one of the best centers in the league as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it and just seeing how, all the things play out with all the new guys and everybody's new role. But I think for sure I'll be playing off the ball a little bit more than, well, I should say a lot more than I have these past 3 years.
What are the challenges of being a shooting guard who's not like the size of a Buddy Boeheim or even Andy Routens or Tyus Battle?
Yeah, I think there's tough things about it, but there's also positive things about it. If I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm a lot quicker and faster than people might give me credit for sometimes. And coming off some off-ball screens, and catching the ball on the move is something that I think I can, use my size and quickness to my advantage. Try and get by these guys who might have longer arms or try and just use their length on me. It allows me to get by them. If by using my body and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, like you said, with, Routens, Buddy, and, Tyus Battle, they all had the opportunity to sometimes get in the lane, maybe even jump stop and still be able to, use their pivot foot and get around them for a finish. So it just for someone like me, you just have to be, I guess, unique in the ways, you go into the paint or you take shots, in there. So it's about creating space. And that's something I work on all the time with GMAC, and I've always worked on, in making room for you to get your shot up.
Just looking at who's leaving and who's coming in, it's going to be a different looking team next year. You're going to be a lot younger.
Yep.
I know, maybe more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if some of the young forwards step in. I mean, have you started to look at like combinations of guys and just like the look and feel of the team?
Yeah, I've talked to the coaches about it. Obviously, you have your exit meetings, I guess, after every year with the coaches, and just trying to feel out what they think. Obviously, they're really excited about the group that we got coming in, and returning guys like me, Benny, Samir, and Jesse. Benny knows some of those guys pretty well, actually, from AAU and just where he's from. So we're all really excited about what they bring. And like you said, it's going to be a pretty athletic team. Even the forwards and the guards we got coming in have shown they're pretty athletic. Some are bigger guards too that are strong bodies, so they'll be kind of ready to adjust to the speed and physicality of the Division I level. But I think that everybody's really looking forward to what they bring. They all kind of bring something different and something new that we might not have had here previous years. And coach has done a great job of molding guys together before, so I'm sure we'll do another one next year.
One thing I was thinking about with all these young kids coming in, and we're talking 6 incoming freshmen.
Yep.
Freshmen like to play hard in practice. They want to fight for time, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. They all want to come in and prove their worth, I guess, especially if they're competing against another freshman. We have 6 guys, so 2, maybe 3 of them are bound to be playing the same position and fighting for the same spot. So obviously they're going to not only be competing with each other and competing with us, but they're be competing for their minutes that they want. And Coach Boeheim Coach Boeheim's biggest thing is if you work hard and you prove yourself in practice and you prove yourself in workouts, that's when you earn your minutes. Mm-hmm. So those guys that come in right away, and I think you made a good point, is as a freshman you're obviously coming in trying to prove yourself. So those guys are going to have a good start, with Coach Boeheim, and earning his trust, depending on whether they have the right mentality to come in and try to earn their minutes. Practices
could get intense. That'd be great, right?
That's what you need. All the best teams, everywhere have the best practices. So those teams that are, and I think it even showed with this year. Not like I said, our record again didn't show it, but in practice every single day we were fighting with each other. We were pushing each other, and I think that's why we were always in. Like I said, every single game that we played was because we always had good practices, and we went on that 4-game win streak. The coaches were saying those were our 2 best weeks of practice that we had all year. Obviously, Jesse getting was just unfortunate and didn't put a downer in us, but it was just unfortunate. And from there we still fought in practice, but I think whenever you have your best practices, you usually play your best. And with having this new sense of energy with these guys, it'll definitely push even us older guys in practice.
All right. So how's Jesse doing?
He's good. He's working out now. I see him in the gym. He's working out with Coach Griff. He's got the cast off and everything, so he's doing well. I think it was funny. It was right after spring break, I think, when we got back, and I saw him working out with Coach Griff. It was the first time he had been allowed, on the court to run up and down and stuff. He was getting winded, and Coach Griff was laughing at him for, obviously it had been a month or 2 since he's been out. So. But he's back into it now. He's doing a really good job, and I know Coach Griff's doing a good job with all those guys and getting them ready. And
Benny, here's a kid didn't play a whole lot as a freshman. Obviously his athleticism, jumps out at you. I haven't spoken to him since the end of the season, but in this day of the transfer portal, I like the idea of a kid coming back from a year like that and wanting to succeed at his original school.
Yeah, Reddy's done a great job. He showed up every day at practice. I think one thing that not many people talked about, but he at the end of the season he started working with the Orange Group when we were going over scouts and stuff. Obviously, he was still getting in his reps with us on defense when we were playing zone, but he decided he wanted to go play on that side and still work on his game at the same time. He might not be getting the same minutes in a real game, so this is his opportunity to go into practice and get some reps in that is against live defense and stuff like that. So,
now explain Orange Group though.
Okay, yeah, the Orange Group is like our scout team pretty much. Like when we're playing North Carolina, we put out, some of the walk-ons and some of those, guys who might not get as many minutes in the real game, and they go play North Carolina's offense against our defense. So basically, Benny was playing on the scout team. He was getting in his reps as well with us, on our defense, but he would start over on the scout team and, work on his game, on his offensive game, and, try and play against some live defense. So I credit him for that, having a positive attitude with that in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Benny's kind of figured out that, I mean, it's not that he didn't work hard when he first got here, but it was a transition for Benny, from high school to college, seeing and understanding. Because to Benny's credit, he was the only freshman, that we had. He's the only one that hadn't experienced college basketball before, and he's the only one who was, new to it. So all this stuff came new, and all of it came fast because, coach and the assistant coaches had all kind of trusted the rest of us guys to just know what we have to do and, expect us to work hard and, be doing all these things because even Jimmy, Cole, and Samir had already played, Division I basketball for a few years and understood, what it really takes. So Benny was at kind of a disadvantage with that because he was the only freshman who came in and he had to deal with all these, older guys who had already kind of understood. But as the season went on, he got better and better and better. We saw it in that Duke game at home when he played really well.
Yep.
And then obviously, unfortunately, got hurt in the UNC game. But he came on at the end of the year. He did a lot better than, he was doing, I guess, in the beginning of the year. And he's just going to continue to grow and become a better player for us and someone that we're going to need to, kind of rely on next year to help us out.
Switching it up a little bit here. Last year was the first year of NIL.
Yep.
And of course, we know Buddy was a hot commodity out there with breakfast cereals and cameos and gear, Buddy buckets.
Yep.
You were able to take advantage of the new rules.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like for you?
It was fun. We had like a compliance meeting with Mark Wheeler like a week before July 1st when, they had all kind of figured out and heard that this was going to pass.
Yeah.
But I think right in the beginning, like, even they didn't know like what the rules were going to be or like how it was going to work, what you were allowed to do, what you weren't allowed to do. So they were just there to pretty much explain to us that it was going to pass and that when it did pass and, if we have all these, brands and people reaching out to us that just to like run it through them first and so that they can go to the NCAA and see if it's allowed or not. So I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of the guys had a lot of fun with it. The only really unfortunate thing is like the foreign guys can't benefit from it. So that's unfortunate. But, I think with being on a basketball team and being here at a prestigious basketball team like Syracuse, we get a lot of attention. So that was pretty fun for all of us to just kind of see what we can do with, whether it was gear, whether it was camps, cameos, all these kind of things. It was a lot of fun. Right at the beginning, everybody was kind of just jumping right into it. But, you kind of had to understand and like realize that it only lasts based on how you play and based on, who you got, people you got around you. So it was all fun. It still is fun. And but it's kind of like you're a businessman also. So, I had, my people around me, like my mom and my dad and some close people that I can trust who really helped me out with it and still do. But yeah, it's about keeping a close circle when you're dealing with it and making sure that you're not just throwing your name into every little thing. It's got to be something that's worth and valuable to you.
Will you do a Joe Girard basketball camp either in Glens Falls or Syracuse this year?
I did it. It's called JG3 Shooting Stars Camp. I did it last year. Was the first one. I'm actually I'm going to do another one this year. I'm also going to do a girls camp. Last year was only able to be a boys camp and it was in a small gym because of COVID and everything. I wasn't allowed into some of these gyms and, obviously some parents didn't want to send their kids because it was not in the midst of COVID, but it was still a pretty big deal. So this year I'm hoping it's going to be bigger and better. It's going to be August 20th back in Glens Falls High School this time. So it'll be a bigger gym. We'll have more hoops and stuff. And, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be another fun one. And there'll be a lot more people there this year as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And you're there the whole time?
Yeah, I'm there. It's funny. My dad helps run it. I'm running it. And then the counselors are my cousins. Some of them that I graduated with, some of them that I graduated before me, and their dads. Who one of them was my high school coach, and then the other one's the girls varsity coach at Glens Falls. So it'll be all those guys again helping me out, and I'm there the whole time. I help show the kids the drills. Then I do like a 10 to 20-minute workout just to show them what I do on my workout routine, and then obviously they go through their camp stations, their drills, and play a little bit of games. So it's a fun time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the kids again.
Well, that'll be cool. Another rule that's out there, the NIL rules are new. The NCAA gave every college athlete an extra year of eligibility if you played through that COVID year with no fans.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about taking advantage of that? And I know you still have next year to go, but
yeah. I haven't thought much on it. Honestly, I haven't even, paid too much attention, especially with, just being in the season, and, the season's only been over for 3 weeks now, but I haven't really paid much attention to it. I haven't, thought much about it, obviously. Seeing how next year goes and with what's to come, and just seeing how everything plays out is, when the time gets closer, I obviously think more about it. But as of right now, I have no idea, or haven't really paid much attention to it.
Buddy decided not to take advantage of it. He's done 4 years. He's good. Did you talk to him, or did he say anything to you like, "No, I'm good. 4 years of college is plenty"?
Yeah, I think his mind was set on that. Entering the year, I think he was pretty set and done with it. I mean, obviously with what he did, his junior year in the NCAA tournament in March and February, he obviously got his name out there a lot and did a really good job with that. And then, being a preseason All-American, and then ended up being ACC's leading scorer and first team All ACC. I think, obviously he didn't think too much about using his extra year.
Well, then we'll just have to wait and see how your senior year goes, and hopefully it's a great one.
Yes, sir.
And you can do whatever you feel like after that. But all right, Joe, listen, it's really a pleasure as always to talk to you. It's good to see you again after 3 weeks since the season ended. Good luck in your off-season workouts and in the Joe Girard Shooting Stars camp.
Yep, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. See ya.